Welcome back to the Chicago Tomahawk. I'm Mike, and I've got Matt with me. And today, unfortunately, politics has invaded hockey once again. James Reimers made some comments. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some quick Blackhawks news. We're on a 3-game winning streak here, Matt?
We were on a 3-game. Now we are on a 3-game slide. Yep.
Okay. And we're going to talk about Connor McDavid a little bit. And I was actually trying to say Conor McGregor because I haven't done that in a long time, but
Yeah.
I might be over it. And then we're going to close it out. So James Reimers, goalie for the San Jose Sharks, who's actually a pretty liked guy amongst every team he's played for. Could you confirm that, Matt?
Oh, yeah. He's nothing. Even the fans, former players. I know he was, they called him Optimus Reimer when he was on the Maple Leafs. He was on that team that kind of choked against Boston that year. I think they were up 4-0 in the third period, and Boston ended up coming back and shocking them. And I think he played for the Hurricanes for a couple seasons, and yeah, he's a very liked guy.
Yeah. So James Reimers doesn't want to wear Pride jersey because of his religious beliefs. He's the second player to opt out of it this season, and he was respectful in his comments. This is his quote. Under the umbrella of the NHL's Hockey is for Everyone initiative, the San Jose Sharks have chosen to wear jerseys in support of the LGBTQIA+ community tonight. For all 13 years of my NHL career, I have been a Christian, not just in title, but in how I choose to live my life daily. I have a personal faith in Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for my sins, and in response, asked me to love everyone and follow him. I have no hate in my heart for anyone, and I have always strived to treat everyone that I encounter with respect and kindness. In this specific instance, I am choosing not to endorse something that is counter to my personal convictions, which are based on the Bible, the highest authority in my life. I strongly believe that every person has value and worth, and the LGBTQIA+ community, like all others, should be welcomed in all aspects of the game of hockey. James Reimers. So I think that's a pretty well articulated response for James Reimers for not wanting to wear the Pride Night jerseys. But that's not good enough for everybody, because the other side of this conversation is the people that believe that if you support, the LGBTQIA+ community, you're going to wear the Pride jersey, you're going to skate out there, you're going to march with them, that kind of stuff, and if you don't do that and you respectfully, decline, it's not acceptable. Now, I think that it's appropriate to support everyone. I don't think that, who are we to point our fingers at people and say, hey, you're not good enough, or hey, I don't like you, and because I don't like you, I'm going to stand against you in some way. James Reimers isn't doing that. He's essentially saying that he's just not going to participate. He's not standing against something. He's just not participating in something, which I think is a big point that needs to be made here, because for all of his career, he's been known as a great teammate and a great guy, and an inclusive guy. And the fact that he doesn't want to wear a jersey is absolutely ridiculous. That he's getting the response back, that he's getting. Matt, what do you think about the outrage behind this?
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be like this. If he doesn't want to do it, all right, move on. He doesn't participate in the warm-up, and he comes out when it's game time. Or if I don't even know if he was starting that game or not, but that's it. Then move on. I mean, it's United States of America, man. If you don't agree with something, that's fine. He was civil about it. He was respectful. He wasn't, going in front of like a convention with a
burning pulpit,
like an anti mob, like a lot of people do, like lately in this country. It's disturbing. And he just said, hey, I'm going to take a step back and I'm not going to ruin the whole night. And that's what he did. And I mean, I thought it's respectful. It's probably the right thing for him to do. And, there's comments out there saying that he should have let people know earlier. And I disagree with that. And if he let people know, say like 2 weeks ago, the media would be asking him this question every day, and this would become about him and not the game, not the San Jose Sharks. And if anything, I thought he did his teammates a favor by doing it that way. And it's unselfish to me, but I think they're making it into something bigger. And this has happened in Philly with Ivan Provorov, I think his name was, and
right.
He actually came out after the game and said, "Yeah, I'm Russian Orthodox, and I didn't want to do it, and my teammates respected me, and my coach has my back." I know Torts came out and said he respects his views on it, but this is the way we're going to do it, and that was it. There was outrage for a week and hateful things, and they're probably going to still label him when he makes the headlines again, but I mean, it's really not a big thing. It kind of brings me back to a couple seasons ago, if you don't mind me jumping into it, with Tyler Bertuzzi. Remember, what was it, 2021? When the vaccination mandates were all in effect, all the players had to get the shot, and he didn't want it.
Right.
What did everybody do to him? The same thing they're doing to these two guys.
They're calling him a scumbag.
Scumbag. He doesn't care for life, and he's like, no, I'm not doing it. And he stuck to his guns. It's courageous because you're going to take a lot of heat for it. And he says, they said, you can't play in Canada. You're being selfish to your teammates. Well, he's like, sorry, I'm sticking to my guns, and I'm gonna do it the way I want. Me and my wife don't feel like we need it. And you know what? There's a lot of Americans that felt like they didn't need it, and I think a lot of them were forced to get it because of their jobs. And I think that's absolutely terrible. It's wrong. And now
my wife was.
They're paying the price for it. Now there's work shortages, and you know what I mean? I'm not going to get into it, but now they're asking for these people to come back. And 2 years later, Tyler Bertuzzi's on the Bruins, and he's loved. I mean, even in Detroit, they loved him. I mean, it was all forgotten about. But
he's a great player.
It's like there's a little mob out there that they don't want you to be a bully, and they want you to accept everybody, but they're being hypocritical to their own message. And unfortunately they did it to Carey Price too. I think it was this season. I remember we talked about it. This guy's had a rough couple of years with injuries and having some trouble with some substance abuse, and he
playing for the Habs.
Yeah, he posted a picture of him and his camo and his rifle, and he says, I support my right to hunt, and I'm against this whatever gun law ban they were doing in Canada. The same crowd went after him for that, saying, oh, you support school shootings and all this. It's absolute trash, and it needs to stop.
I think that it's easy to get into the woods because I think that there's a lot of instances of, I think, people trying to cancel people in a way. And I think this goes against the hockey is for everybody thing in the NHL that they are pushing, because it seems like the hockey is for everyone is a one-way street where either you agree with a certain narrative, and if you don't agree with it, then you're not part of it, which essentially is hypocritical, because if it's for everyone, then it should include everyone. So
even religious, beliefs. I mean, I know Nazem Kadri is one of the first Muslims, and he was one of the first players to bring the Stanley Cup to a mosque. That's cool, dude. And and I hate to do this, but what if he said that? What if he said that he's against this? I don't even think it would be a story, my friend. I really don't.
I don't think it would.
And I'd be okay with, and it shouldn't be a story. It's his personal choices, and I'm not going to speak for him. I don't know how he feels, but it shouldn't be any different for these guys if they're saying their religion is why they don't want to do it. And
it would. I think that it would be different if the NHL said that as a league-wide, you are obligated to participate in Pride Night. Mm-hmm. And then if a team or a player says that, even though that it is obligated, and the team or the player says, even though this is obligated, I am not doing it because of my personal beliefs. That, on the other hand, I think would be a bigger issue, because it's like, okay, you sign your contract on the dotted line that you are going to abide by what is handed down by the NHL, what is brought down by your teams, which you are contractually obligated to do. But that's not the case here. The case is that it's not a league-wide mandate, because these guys are free to participate in what they feel is appropriate to participate in. Now,
you'll have a lot of First Amendment issues, in court if that were to happen. Yeah,
it would. But it's one of those things where they could say, hey, look, if you don't like our terms, then you don't have to play here.
That's true.
Then another league could pop up with, hey, look, we don't care what you believe in, whatever you want to do. You could come and play here. And the NHL wouldn't like that. So then, it'd be some kind of I would think that there'd be a bit of a war there, because a lot of guys might want to leave with all the stuff that's going on.
I wouldn't be surprised if you, like you just said, though, if they do start mandating it. Did you see how fast they mandated the COVID vaccination?
Yeah.
And remember, Duncan Keith took a lot of heat because he was against it at first. And I know when they moved him to Edmonton, a lot of the Edmontonians up there, whatever they're called, they were pretty ticked off at him that he was against it. And I don't know if you've seen Duncan Keith without a shirt on. That dude is jacked. He's absolutely into his health and fitness.
Yeah.
He said he didn't feel like he didn't need it. And he was pissed off when they mandated it. He goes, he was upset with the NHL Players Union for not fighting for him. So it's crazy, man. I'm glad obviously it's way better now, and they don't really have to worry about that. But a lot of people, they did that for their jobs. Unfortunately, some of them lost their jobs because they didn't want to do it. So it's a mess. And then if they do mandate something like this, I think that's horrible.
Yeah, I think this comes into politics leaking into sports and it ruining sports, because when I put on a game, I want to put on a game and I want to watch, my favorite team play, whoever it is that they're playing that day. I don't want to turn on the TV and then the first thing I see is, some kind of activist, some kind of, James Reimers not doing this, Duncan Keith's not getting the shot. Should players be obligated to get the COVID shot, like this type of stuff. I want to talk about hockey. I want to talk about the game. I want to talk about matchups. I want to talk about the draft. I want to talk about upcoming prospects. That stuff is fun, but like this kind of stuff, it's like, if I wanted to talk about it, I would start a news podcast or something.
Well, I think a lot of the, I'll say it now. A lot of the Blackhawks beat writers, I feel like they want to be political people. I mean, just looking at their stuff and seeing what they post, they jump at the opportunity to tweet something out like this. And it's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, they can have their opinion. We can have ours, but I feel like you guys make it into something bigger than it is. And you continue to kind of just poke the bear and get in the middle and start like a war. And Twitter is terrible, man. It is so, I mean, I hate going on there, but I love a lot of the people on there. They're fun to have conversations with. Good hockey talk. For me, I love talking history, Blackhawks. I love talking, the old school guys that I grew up watching. And that's what I like. But then politics sneaks its way in everything.
Yeah,
and
it does.
I even posted something about this. Remember the St. Patrick's Day massacre? Back in the day, I said,
with Stu Grimson.
Actually, it was Dave Manson and Scott Stevens. It was an absolute brawl, and Pat Foley and Dale Talon were on the call. It was awesome. Foley's what a left hand, how he does. And I said, can you imagine the outrage today from the anti-fighting group? And a lot of people said they missed this kind of hockey. It was fun, entertaining. And it was just great old school hockey. But then you get some that are just, I don't pay all this money to watch that, and I don't pay for guys. I don't want guys to have head concussion issues and stuff like that. Majority of the concussions don't come from fighting. They come from collisions and blindside hits, stuff like that.
Boarding.
Yeah, boarding. A guy not looking, his back is turned to the boards and he gets hammered from behind. So if you're going to give me the concussion, you care about concussion issues, then you should be banning hitting and any physical contact in hockey. But it'll never happen because hockey will lose more than half of its fan base. The physicality part is a part of the game. You can use your body to take a guy off the puck. I mean, no one wants to see blindside hits and stuff like that. But kind of getting off track here. But there's almost a cancel. This group is wanting to get rid of fighting. They want you to wear these kind of jerseys and be accept me or die type of thing. And it's just getting ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. It kind of leads to like the fighting. I kind of wanted to talk about that. We talked about it a bit on the last podcast. It turns out that there is a league, a junior league that is going to ban fighting. I think it's like the QJ MCHL or something like that.
Yeah, the Q. Yeah.
They are banning fighting as of next season. What do you think of that?
So if you do it early, they're not going to know anything about it when it comes to the NHL. These guys are going to have no fighting experience and no fighting at all in their bones, so it won't happen in the next couple of years. So the NHL is probably loving it, because they're never going to say they want to ban fighting because they're going to lose money, but deep down they want it. I think
they're behind it.
They want it gone. There's no doubt about it. You can't fight a guy with a freaking visor. So you're telling me you're worried about concussion issues. What about broken freaking hands when you punch a helmet? Yeah. So you can't fight without a helmet. You have to wear a visor now, which I'm actually okay with that. I think I would have gave the players the choice. I know it's grandfathered in now. You have to wear a visor. I think there was a recent tweet. I think there's like 8 players that don't wear them. I know Ryan O'Reilly's one.
Ryan O'Reilly,
Jamie Benn, Gordy Benn, like the older guys. Yeah. And I actually like it personally, but if it should be a choice. If some guys can't see. I mean, I wore a visor for a season when I was playing men's league inline hockey, and I didn't like it. I took it off. I didn't like it. It would fog up on me and stuff like that. But you should give the players a choice, and it is safer though. Obviously sticks come up, and I remember Brian Berard back in the day. He was on the Blackhawks, and he actually lost vision in one of his eyes because of a high stick. So, I think his eyesight's better now with the technology and all that stuff. But I think that they should still make it the choice. Give it to the guys. But I do like it. It's safe. But the fighting thing, I think they're going to keep banning it in lower levels. So those guys don't know any better by the time they're pros, and there's going to be no fighting. And then that way the NHL doesn't have to say, we've banned fighting, They let the other leagues do it for them. Because college, you can't fight either.
They don't have to get their hands dirty. Yeah, I remember Craig McTavish back in the day being the last guy not wearing a helmet, and it was just crazy to see. Like everybody was wearing helmets except for this dude. Yeah,
he was a beast. I think that key face-off in 1994 for the Rangers. He won the last draw, won it back, and the Rangers ate the clock and ended up winning their long droughted Stanley Cup in 94. So I remember that. Wow. Yeah, he was at center ice. I remember that. He was a beast. I think he played for the Blues too, right? Blues, Oilers, and Rangers.
I don't remember. Yeah. So, before we go any further, I got to let everybody know that the action never ends at DraftKings Sportsbook, especially this summer with tons of ways to bet on all your favorite sports. You can fuel fandom and feel the heat for the season like never before. Plus, right now, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving new customers a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's right. Make your first bet up to $1,000, and if it doesn't win, you'll get another shot to cash in. You can throw down on all the major hockey, baseball, basketball, golf, MMA, and more. Best of all, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. You can deposit or withdraw your cash whenever you want. Now, if there's one game I want to watch this week, it's the Blackhawks versus the Avalanche or the Caps. You want to see Ovi try and get a goal? I say he gets one goal in that game. And we'll see if the Avalanche can get back on track so they can try to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. Do you think that's going to happen, Matt? Do you think they have a chance of repeating?
I think they have a chance, but I'm going to stick to my guns here. I think Connor is going to take the Oilers to the next level.
Okay. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Show notes for details. And Manscaped also wants to let you know that they have a new, they're into beard products, and they have a new weed whacker, which it's like pretty much like a nose trimmer. It's pretty awesome. They got the what's it called, the Weed Whacker 2.0, and it's great. The difference between this one and the last one is you could take it in the shower with you and you can rinse it off, and I think it works really good. Do us a favor, use code Tomahawk20 and get 20% off of anything on the website and free shipping. So to get that, use code Tomahawk20 at manscaped.com. 20% off of your order, and you get free shipping at manscaped.com. Now, return to the podcast. I'm glad that this is over with. I hate talking about this political stuff because it divides people. I love talking, like you said, about Twitter. There's a lot of good people talking hockey on there, man. And it's fun to have people who have different takes, different perspectives. And when this stuff invades the hockey sphere, I think it sucks. So one thing we could all agree on is that Connor McDavid is on another level this year. He's got 58 goals with 12 games left. I think that there's a possibility that he hits 70 goals on the season. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think it could be done. The guy is just in a different world right now, and that's why I think he's going to take him to the final. Don't know if he's going to win, but I think he can get him there.
Wow. So last year they made it to the Western Conference Finals, lost to the Avalanche pretty convincingly. And this year, you think that they can overcome this complete team that there's a possibility of them seeing in the Western Conference Final?
Yeah, I like what they did. Their goaltending is a lot stronger. I mean, Mike Smith was in net with that Kostitskin. What was their other guy? He was pretty bad. They managed to get rid of both of them and brought in Jack Campbell, and Stuart Skinner is their other goalie. And you know what? They're both playing pretty good. And I think Campbell obviously has more playoff experience. And your other goalie's playing hot too. So it's good. The Oilers always lack that goalie. That's why, I jump to this all the time. I'm not confident with the Maple Leafs. Just because they're guys in net. I just don't think they have the experience like, all the other Eastern teams have. They have their legit number 1A goalie. But going back to the Oilers, I just like what they did. And you look at Nugent Hopkins, man. He is having an unbelievable season. I think he's at 30-something goals. He's playing really well. You got Zach Hyman they got last year. Good goal scorer. Their top six is really good. Their defense probably is the weakest part, but that's a team I think that can outscore their problems just because they got some solid goalies. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I think they can get it done, in the West this year because the West is weak and the East is just so freaking deep and good. So this is their year. Connor's window is closing. So
in Edmonton,
yes,
it is.
I think Connor can get him there. Don't know if he can get it done in the final, but I think this is his year to get the Oilers win the West at least.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, he was their number 1 draft pick, quite a ways back. And I don't think he really quite lived up to the hype, of being the number 1 draft pick. And I think he is having an incredible season, but it kind of goes to show you that you got Connor McDavid, a number 1 draft pick, and then you got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Yeah, and then don't forget Taylor Hall, too. They had Taylor Hall at one point. Yeah, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, he has 84 points right now.
Nailed Yakupov.
Yeah, Yakupov. Yeah, I remember him. He went to St. Louis for a little bit.
I don't think he's in the NHL anymore.
Make it. Yeah, Taylor Hall was the odd man out. He ended up going to Jersey. He did win an MVP one season, and then he kind of fell off the face of the earth and got traded over to the Bruins, and he's been okay there, but not like a first overall guy that he should be.
Yeah, not a 40 goal guy
We can't
anymore.
forget about Evander Kane either. I mean, they brought him in last year. He was really good for them. He did get hurt. We know his off ice issues he has, but he seems to, kind of been behaving lately and playing well for the Oilers too.
Now that you mention Evander Kane, he's, I think, been like the difference maker for this team to kind of help get them over the edge, because before it was just Connor McDavid and Leon, but adding Evander Kane adds that, that secondary scoring punch that they desperately needed. I think maybe Kane realizing that, hey, look, I'm playing with the two best players in the world right now. I can't screw this up, because if I do, number one, I'm not going to get paid,
or another job.
And I'm not going to get another chance anywhere else because I messed up this opportunity here. So it's actually a way for him to improve his image as well. There.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you got Zach Hyman, good top six, Evander Kane, Nugent Hopkins. You got obviously Connor and Leon, and then Darnell Nurse. He's not having a great season. He's been overpaid a little bit, but he cashed in when all of them were, cashing in that year. Seth and Cale Makar, and obviously Cale Makar took a discount compared to what these guys are making. It's pretty close.
Yeah, he could have got 12.
Yeah, but I think for Cale Makar, it was more important to be on a winning team for a while and take a little bit of a discount. So it might hurt him in a couple of years, Darnell Nurse, his salary, but like I said, I think their defense is probably their worst part. But when you have a good top six like that and two solid goalies, you could probably outscore your problems.
On to some Blackhawks news. The Blackhawks are officially eliminated from the playoffs. It's funny because they're officially eliminated from the playoffs, but yet, they've been going on these winning streaks, kind of taking them out of what they want to do, and that's the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. At one point, they were kind of hovering in that number one spot, the probability of getting that number one pick, and now I think they're in third, which I don't like. A lot of people are saying that Connor Bedard's going to go to Columbus, that Columbus is going to win it, and I really hope not, man. That would be horrible for us and for hockey.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be horrible. Columbus, obviously Arizona, you don't want to go there. What was the other team? Who's with us? Anaheim. I mean, that's kind of a wash too. I mean, being on a bad team, they don't fill that building up. There's not too many fans. Most California, hockey fans are obviously Kings fans and, teams that win. So I don't, it would be a waste. For me, it would be Montreal or the Blackhawks. I mean, if you're the NHL, that's where you want Connor Bedard to go, because he's going to bring in more money if he's in an original six, big city, big market team. But hey, it's up to the lotto, man. It's up to that ball. So I mean, it's hard to predict this stuff. It's not like, you finish last, you get the first round pick, which I think it should be that way. But this is their anti-tanking theory with this lottery ball. I'm not a big fan. The Hawks have only won one, lottery, and it was Patrick Kane. So, and we've been in the league for a long time. So, I mean, I would like to see him just do away with this lotto thing. It's just, for me, it's unfair. Especially a couple of years ago, what was Edmonton, like we just talked about? They were getting it like every year.
Yeah, they were. And it was, it sucked because it's like, okay, how many times are these guys going to get the number one pick? And, they continue on their ways. It took them getting a generational player for them to turn it around. And they still are having a hard time. I mean,
it took them a while. They've been having some heartbreaks, and sometimes they're not even close. So it's crazy. They have two generational players, I think. And they had 3 draft picks before that are good hockey players. It's just insane.
So I'm going to say that I called it here first. The Blackhawks defeated the Bruins. They had 9 losses on the year up until that point, and the Hawks gave them that big 1-0. Sometimes this stuff happens, man. The best team in the league goes up against one of the worst, and they lose big time.
Every level it happens. He overlooked the guys.
It's crazy.
He overlooked the guys that he look at their roster. You're like, oh my God, we should be scoring 10 goals on these guys. And then the guys come out flying. Yeah, I credit the Hawks for that. They played a good game.
Yeah, they did. The final score was 6-3. Taylor Raddysh recorded a hat trick for his 20th goal. Kachuk also had a 3-point night, and newcomer Anderson also scored. And it's really funny. I wanted to talk about Taylor Raddysh a little bit. That that he's. I think that last year, he came in. He scored a few goals, and I was like, oh, you know what? I think there's something to this kid. This year, we're at 20 goals. He's got 10 games left. I don't know if he can make it to 30, but I think that he has potential to be a guy who will shoot the puck and could possibly put it in the net. You think he could be our next Sharpie?
Yeah, I do. I see a lot of similarities between their careers when they were traded here. Obviously the last year was the trade, but with Hagel he came here and like you said, he scored some goals and you're like, this guy's got a pretty good shot. He could got a good eye for the net and. This year he hits 20. Same thing as Patrick Sharp. Patrick Sharp, end of his second or his full, I guess you could call it his first full year with the Hawks. He scored 20, and Raddysh can get more. And I just see a lot of traits that they have. And it's like when you're rebuilding. Back in the day, Sharpie was here before Kane and Taves, and then you got this kid Raddysh. It's kind of weird how stuff happens. It's almost like, hey, let's hold on to this guy. He might be, good for the future top six because, obviously 20 goals is a big deal for a hockey player. When it puts you to another level. Like, hey, I put 20 in, I'm going to get a certain amount now for my next contract. And
at least at a bare minimum 3.5.
Yeah, and that's I believe that's what Sharpie got. After and then next year if he puts in 30. That's something to be like, wow, this guy might be the next Sharpie,
It goes up to 6.
You'd hope like your young guys come up, kind of like Kane and Taves, and then you kind of fill in these AHL guys that are coming in, like Lucas Reichel. Maybe I'd like to see Lucas and him be on a line together because you got that, he's kind of a playmaker. He could score. He actually scored, I believe, this week. And it would be interesting to see. Hold on to the guy. Even Boris Kachuk, man. I mean, he's been good too, and it was a good trade, I think, for both teams.
I think Kachuk, I think he definitely flies under the radar. Because a lot of times, you'll notice him, and other times, he just pops up and he gets an assist or he gets like a goal when you least expect it.
Yeah, there was maybe about a month ago, I think he was kind of running around a little bit, playing like the goon type of role, taking stupid penalties and hitting guys up high. And it's like, come on, man, what are you doing? Spending all your time in the box. And then he's been in and out of the lineup. And Raddysh is more of an everyday guy. But like I said, I think it was a good trade. We got our first round picks. We got two, pretty good NHL players. They can play in a lineup. And over there, Hagel, I think he's close to 30 now. 30 goals. He's playing with the top line over there, and it seemed to work out for both teams, and which is good. I mean, he's not hurting us. He's not in our division, and we're getting two guys that can play every night. They weren't getting that opportunity in Tampa, and now they're taking advantage of this ice time they're getting.
I think that anybody, you make it into this league, you get an opportunity to play some minutes. I would probably say like about 80% of the guys, 85% of the guys can go out there and score 20 goals. It just kind of goes to the kind of talent that is really in the league.
It's once you get there, you got to keep repeating it. Like Patrick Kane has done it his whole career. It seems like he's been a 20-goal guy, sometimes 30, mostly assists. But once you get to that level, you got to keep going. And that's what I'm hoping for Raddysh. I see a lot. Of Patrick Sharp, man. I mean, I'd like to see him hit 30 next year and, play in that top line, get some more power play time. And that's what they did with Sharpie.
I'm a fan.
I'm a fan too. At first I was a little like, gosh, like I miss Hagel already, but you got to take what you can get. And he obviously this ice time and the coaching change has benefited him, He's playing well with this coach, Luke Richardson. I give him a lot of credit too. He's got nothing, but these guys are playing tough for him. They're playing a full 60, and I give what's his name too a lot of credit. Alex Stalock, he's been a great goalie for us this season. I'd like to see him come back.
Has.
He seems to like love it here. It's like what do they call it? The resurrection of Jake the Snake, but only Alex Stalock. He's really rejuvenated his game.
He has. The Blackhawks defeated Nashville 2-1. Reichel and Anderson with the goal. Solid outing in net by Stalock with 35
That's
saves.
A lot. That's a lot against a team like Nashville. So this guy's standing.
That's a lot. Do you think it's time to just extend him? Just extend this kid?
I think they'll wait till the end of the year. He'll probably sign another 1 year, friendly deal, maybe 2 years to give him a little security. It does help for players. You get that extra year. You're more laid back and relaxed and not worrying about where I'm going to end up going next year. I think he's earned it. We're rebuilding right now. We don't have a goalie that's up and coming. We need someone to play in net, and the guy likes it here, man. He's a very likable guy.
Do you think that he has a solid locker room presence?
Well, yeah. From the videos we've seen lately, like after a win, they'll hand him the belt. He's always got a good speech. All the guys are clapping and applauding, just laughing at him and stuff, having a good time. Yeah, goalies are characters, man. I think I like him better than Mrazek. I think he's a lot cheaper than Mrazek too, and he's just been playing better. He's a very likable dude. I think it's good for a young team. Because when we were rebuilding our last time around before the dynasty, I remember we had goalies like Brian Boucher. We had Craig Anderson for a season or two, and then we got Nikolai Habibulin, who's kind of a weird dude. Is to himself. He almost looks like he's got like a little bit of Tourette's. He'd kind of a lot of body jerks and ticks and stuff. But
Sure.
We had Patrick Lalime, who was another character, really good goalie back in the day, and. That helped these young guys coming up when you got a goalie standing on his head and, giving showing the guys how to be a pro. And I think Alex Stalock has been around for a while, kind of jumping around from team to team a bit. But yeah, I'd definitely like to see him come back. I'm a big fan of him.
Hawks defeated the Yotes. Hawks lost to the Yotes 4-2 in a boring battle of a bad game. If Arizona wins the lottery, Bedard should pull a Lindros and just tell them he's going to refuse to play. You're going to need to trade me, And at that point, I think that's where Davidson comes in and says,
we'll take him.
We'll take him. I've got picks to offer.
Well, what would you do? AZ wins the lotto, and you're gonna obviously they have player interviews before, and if you're Connor, what do you say? I think I said, dude, you know what? I respect you guys as a franchise, but I want to play in a city where they care about hockey. I like Montreal, Chicago. I don't want to play in front of a building that, doesn't fill up. My junior hockey has a bigger crowd attendance than this. It's kind of embarrassing, You're a pro team, you don't have your own building, you can't even put your logo on the ice. It sucks. I think I'd say, you know what? Please don't draft me. I'm fine with going second. Please. And maybe the Coyotes will say, we're going to pick Fantelli or something, but
Fantelli's like,
shit,
guys.
I can't say that, but it's true. I wouldn't want to play there. It's terrible. I'd rather stay at high school and play, the crowds seem better,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that he would do that, or who knows, maybe he will.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure why Lindros did it because Quebec,
I'm not sure either.
Quebec had a good, obviously a Canadian team. That building was great. Fans would have been good to him, and didn't they end up moving to Colorado?
They did.
Can you imagine Eric Lindros, Joe Sakic, and all the supporting
never
cast?
Winning a cup?
Oh my goodness, the guy was a freaking wrecking ball out there. Great player. And he ended up going to Philly. And they gave Forsberg away, and it worked out for those guys. They got 2 Stanley Cups.
Oh my gosh!
And that's
Big
a guy
time.
who, if he stayed healthy, oh my gosh, he'd be one of the best hockey players of all time. Just
that's probably who I compare. I compare Steven Stamkos to. You know,
with
that
the
he could have
injury.
been so
Yeah,
much
I
more
could see
if
that
he
too.
wasn't bogged down by injuries.
But I mean, I've never seen guys hit a guy when they had possession of the puck like Peter Forsberg. Hey, he'd be skating down with possession, raise his shoulder, and just annihilate the guy. And you never see that anymore. I think the last Hawk to do that might have been like Brian Campbell. He was good at that, kind of shoving off a check while he had possession of the puck. Not a lot of guys could do that. I'm not saying Brian Campbell's Peter Forsberg because he's not even close, but just unbelievable. With Philadelphia, he was a beast too when he came. You know, he ended up going back in the early 2000s and stuff. But man, I'll never forget those playoff series with Colorado and Detroit, and even in the finals. I think who did they play in the? Didn't they play Philly? Oh no, it was Detroit. Who did Colorado beat? Oh, I think they beat the Florida Panthers one year. I forget the other team.
With John Van Beezer.
Yeah, the Beezer was in that, but I forgot who they played.
And Scott Mallenby.
Was it Colorado? Did they beat? Was it Brodeur?
It
might have been Brodeur versus Waugh. It was a big thing. And then I think a year before it was.
I think Waugh's the better goaltender.
Patrick Waugh.
Yeah,
4 Stanley Cups. I think he's a better shit talker, that's for sure, and he could fight. And I remember him fighting Vernon and Osgood, back to back, which is pretty incredible. That was a good story when he said he was done with the Canadians. They left him in there for like 9 goals against Detroit, and they ended up trading him to Colorado like the next 2 days or something. Just treated him like crap, and he's like, nope, I'm not going to get embarrassed like that. He gets traded and goes off and wins a Stanley Cup. Just a crazy story.
You know what's funny is that he just walked over to the end of the bench. He's like, "That's it. I'm not.
I'll never wear this sweater again."
Here again.
Yeah, and you know what? As a goalie too, I've been in games like that where everything's going in, and you're just like, "Oh my god, what the hell is going on?" And you look at the coach like, "Please change. Let's switch it up here." I'm getting shelled, and he didn't do it. So that Waugh took it hard, and he went right to the GM. Said, "I'll never play." He walked over the coach, went right to the GM. "I'm done," and then he was gone. History. Two Stanley Cups in Colorado.
The Avalanche beat Tampa Bay.
No way.
In their first.
No way.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right here,
dude.
Yeah.
No way. That was Calgary. That was Calgary in 04.
No, I'm talking about 01.
No, I don't think so, dude. First Stanley Cup. I'm sorry.
Oh, wait. Oh, wait, hold on.
I think it's New Jersey. And then it was Florida. You're probably thinking of Calgary.
How many Stanley Cups have they won?
96.
Oh, yeah, in 96, they beat the Panthers 4 games.
Yeah, that wasn't even close. That was the famous where they threw all the rats.
Then they beat the Devils. They beat the Devils in 01.
Game 7, right?
4-3. Yeah, 4 games to 3.
That was a good series, and I think you're right. I think Waugh was a better goalie than Martin Brodeur.
He just played more games. That's the only difference between
Marty had a really good defense too.
And he had
the boring locks.
He had the best that trap, and they had one of the best defenses for like 10 years.
You got Scott Stevens, Scott Niedermeyer, Ken Danico, Brian Rafalski. You got, oh my god, those are good defensemen. And then you got the boring, like you said, the boring neutral zone trap game or whatever the hell they played at the time. It was low scoring, and he was a good goalie. He did steal games, but I just think Waugh was just a better personality, and he's kind of a head case, but very entertaining to watch. Good goalie. Right. I'd say my top 5. You got Patrick Waugh, Dominic Hasek, Martin Brodeur, Eddie Belfour, and then I'm going to probably have to give Flower the number 5 because he's working his way up.
Yeah. Well, everyone, that's all that we got for you tonight. Thank you for listening. I want to let everybody know that, in closing that, me and Matt, I think I would consider us inclusive, that we believe that, everyone's entitled to their opinions and their beliefs in hockey and how they feel. And I think that the street should go both ways, and it should go for everyone. And we're going to leave it at that. So if you want to talk to us about anything, want to comment on what we said, hit us up on Twitter at Shy Tomahawk. We'd love to talk to you. Be sure to use our code Shy Tomahawk at Liquid IV for 15% off. Our code is Chicago Tomahawk, and look in the show notes for details. All right, that's all that we got for you. This is the Tomahawk, and we're out of here.